Let's do this.
Thank you for being here.
Steve, ready for computers to see. It's going to be amazing.
There you go. That's what I said.
Star Wars was a catalyst to a lot of the stories and games that I've wanted to tell and had the pleasure of making. It's influenced everything that I've done from a very early age. When I started at Respawn, my mission was to start a new team and build a new game. Very quickly, we got 5 guys. We used to call ourselves Team 5 Guys.
I was here from the very beginning when we started this team. I was here for all the hiring, helped hire the combat team, helped interview other designers for the rest of the design department. We try to hire people that have a passion for wanting to make these games and are just positive people.
Yeah, it's 5 years since I started on this journey. 5 years. Today, actually, Star Wars came in as a wow. Okay, the weight on the shoulders of the team at the time when we started was just, okay, we're doing this. So let's try to do it as well as we can. At the time when
I was part of the team that made Titanfall, and then Titanfall 2, and in the midst of that, we decided to have a second team that would create a second game that ended up being Jedi Fallen Order. During the day, I would do Titanfall 2, and at night, I would start working on the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
We were working on a different game for a year and a couple months. One day, we got called into a conference room. They said that we could keep working on this game that we'd been developing for a year, or we have this opportunity to build a Star Wars game. We, as a team, got to choose, and it was unanimous. We were a team built to make a melee-centric combat game, and we saw the opportunity to make a lightsaber game, and you don't pass up that opportunity.
The game we hired you to work on, we're not going to do that game. It's going to be Star Wars. How do you feel? And I was like, oh my God, it just felt like we hit the lottery.
So Stig came up to tell us about this idea he had and about this team he was building to make a melee-driven action-adventure game. Everyone's mind jumps to Jedi.
So the Star Wars name is Jedi Fallen Order.
Woo! So Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah.
We learned very early on, Jedi, they're considered the holy grail at Lucasfilm. And we're going to need to earn it every step of the way.
I'm Jared Petty, and this is IGN News. Titanfall developer Respawn Entertainment is working on a new third-person Star Wars game. The project will be led by Stig Asmussen, the former God of War 3 creative director. Asmussen said, "We promise to pay respect to the Star Wars legacy at all times, a fact that will be constantly reinforced and honored as a central game design tenet. Fans should expect the exemplary level of quality first established at Respawn with Titanfall, a game that epitomizes our studio's dedication to slick, larger-than-life action and fun, groundbreaking mechanics."
What started as a team of 5 4 years ago is now over 140 developers, all striving to translate Star Wars into that signature Respawn gameplay.
Back when, never imagined that I would
be reworked and a couple of spoiler things that made it in there. Then the Sir Cordova one we think is stronger. It takes the bones of what was in the book that we all seem to like.
Right. I'm a member of the Lucasfilm Story Group. We are a team that's responsible for overseeing the development across all platforms, whether that's animation, video games, and we make sure that all of that remains continuous and authentic.
What we're looking at this morning is the progress in the Order 66 level. The team has done a really good job putting something together that's playable and representative of where we're headed. So it's a good time for us to give feedback. We are mostly pulling from reference from Clone Wars and Rebels.
If you guys do go with the Rodian, which is totally fine, if you could do the orange skin Rodian rather than the green skin.
I think that was the image that Rich said, but I'll make sure that no one is called out.
We're always so involved in the story, so we know the story like the back of our head.
Well, I suppose he's the expert on that very thing.
So the idea came up to really combine this human sound with the electronic sound. That way we still might be able to have the character of a machine, but get the personality and the emotion of a living organism.
The way Ben will work on things is he'll do it with his voice first, and then he'll add synthesizer sounds to that and kind of track what he's doing with his voice using the synthesizer.
Having the little guy get on your back was an idea that was pulled from when Luke carries Yoda on Dagobah and he's training. It also ties really well with our game because at any point the droid can look around and go, hey, look at that wall. Like, here's information about this thing.
For the AI part, I have made a system that supports like hack doors or like we want to investigate bodies. It's basically the POI system is driving the BD.
POI stands for point of interest. We use it as a way of attracting AI characters to certain spots in the world. So for BD1, we use it for whenever he wants to scan something or overcharge a power generator, he'll automatically detect its location in the world and start trying to move towards it if he's available for it.
In the Star Wars universe, droids are some of the most iconic characters that we can offer fans. Having the opportunity to model and texture and be part of bringing BD1 to life was a huge honor. This is my original Star Wars figure collection from when I was a kid. C-3PO was the first action figure that my dad ever bought me, which kind of propelled me into this career of art. And that was in 1978. So that figure up top is 41 years old at this point. Now, the day that I actually get an action figure of BD1, then my life has become full circle. Then I have my own Star Wars figure that actually contributed to.
In the way you have like a combat designer or a level designer, we have narrative designers that approach it from a narrative standpoint.
Okay, so we're going to check out a rehearsal video for Befriend Marin. They're not friends, they're not allies, but they kind of realize that they're not enemies.
I'm the narrative lead on Jedi Fallen Order. I am responsible for all things narrative in the game, writing, VO, cinematics, and then narrative features.
Since writing this and recording those, her first couple scenes, she's imperious, and she's very much like, this is my place, you can't come here. But in the early rehearsal, she'd been much more like, go away, right? And like really aggro out the gate, and I wanted to avoid that.
So one thing just to bear in mind is that like to get a lot of the tension on this thing, it's got to go through him, right? So it's like I'm wondering if, especially in light of the fact the last time we saw her, she summoned an army of these
of young.
Dude, they made that.
This is a very special opportunity.
And make sure every first pass.
This is an event that we're all going to do it together and have a great game.
Seeing the reaction online, kind of seeing the action right, we could just see the support for it. Initially, the downside. The level there, find what the challenges are we're going to do.
And stable builds UXR around a lot in this game.
UXR is user experience research. It's where we playtest the game. So we find people outside of the studio to play our game blind. And it's really the first time we can kind of get a gut check of where we are and where we need to go.
The ledges were just all crazy, so like we got to make all this clean, and so we spent the last few days doing that for the UXR areas.
Finding the fun is a lot about iteration. When you're building a level, the level designer will be working on it for 6 months from start to finish, and this is for like a 30 or 45-minute section of the game. It's really about zooming in on all the little moments and details and kind of obsessing over every little moment and thinking what is going to be best for the player at any given time.
This whole area here, we just have spiders.
It's all spiders.
So we need to do something to make it. It feels a little dull. And we're gonna do a damage pass on these guys, right, Jason?
There's a lot of factors, right, that make lightsaber combat rewarding. It's the encounter. Who's in the encounter? How fast do they die? How good does it feel for them to block your lightsaber or counter you? All those little details and actions, that's the stuff that I always want to like try to improve and make sure every AI is doing their job.
Once we get this first pass in, I want you guys to just like play it over and over again, like play that one fight like 10 times in a row, move a guy a meter, play a fight again, die to that fight, try to play it a different way. Like noodle the out of it. Like,
yeah. Cool. Thanks, guys. Good work. So some polish over the next week.
The core focus is make a game that reacts really well. How good a game feels has a lot to do with reducing the layers of interference between what the player wants to do and what the game does out of it.
At the very beginning, the UI team was just Kevin and I. We had to make sure that we kept each and every part of the map close to Star Wars. Kevin and I went through each and every Star Wars film, looked at each hologram, see which one we wanted to be like. We were able to be very collaborative, exploring how we want the player to feel when they're using the map.
I kind of like the idea of we show wall runs just as part of the geo. I want to make sure that like if you're looking for it, you can see it. We should be looking at like the larger game, especially considering that that's what the COXR is all about.
I like my team to focus first and foremost on gameplay, and first and foremost on what is going to be the fun thing. And then if we're thinking of how it matches kind of the Star Wars universe, we should have that in our mind as well, but that should be secondary to making the gameplay and space feel fun. We just pull random back and watch them play. We just chat about thoughts back from... Well, good for one. People working on a polish level that we want to hit for when